A metal spoon scrapes against the inside of a steel bowl inside cell block 4. The sound is small, almost harmless. But in the silence of a maximum security prison at night, it repeats again and again until it becomes something the guards stop noticing. Inside the cell, a man sits on the edge of a narrow bed. Fluorescent light hums above him, flickering slightly, painting his hands in a cold, uneven glow. The bowl in his lap is empty now, but he keeps turning it in slow circles, like he is studying something no one else can see. This is not the first time he has done this, and it is not the first time he has escaped. Years later, investigators would struggle to explain how someone could break out of a facility designed to hold people indefinitely. High walls, reinforced doors, controlled movement, constant surveillance, every system built to remove uncertainty. But what they missed was a soup bowl, not as a weapon, not as a tool of violence, but as something far more dangerous inside a place built on control: patience. Months earlier, that same bowl had been nothing special, just part of daily routine. Water, thin soup, metal clinking against metal. The kind of object no one thinks about twice. In a prison, objects lose meaning quickly. They become background noise in a life measured by repetition. But repetition creates patterns, and patterns create opportunities. It started with small observations. A guard who always paused at the same corner. A door that didn't quite close flush with its frame. A maintenance schedule that shifted slightly every few weeks. Nothing that would alarm anyone on its own. But together, they formed something else entirely. A map. Not drawn on paper. Not spoken aloud, but remembered. Inside the cell, the man learned the rhythm of the building, the way musicians learn silence between notes. He wasn't waiting for a miracle. He was waiting for a gap in attention. The first escape wasn't dramatic. There was no explosion, no chaos, no dramatic confrontation. Just a moment when a door that should have been watched wasn't. He walked through it like he belonged there. By the time anyone realized something was wrong, he was already back inside. That was what made it worse. Not that he escaped, but that he returned. Because returning meant studying. The second time, they increased security. New checks, new routines, more guards, more certainty. But systems don't just become stronger. They become more predictable. And predictability is just another kind of vulnerability. The soup bowl stayed with him through all of it. It became a quiet constant, a harmless object that moved from cell to corridor and back again. To anyone watching, it meant nothing. But to him, it was timing. It marked how long he had been out of sight, how long a guard stayed distracted, how long a door remained unlocked during routine movement. Time measured in metal and steam. The third escape forced the prison into panic. Internal reviews, staff rotations, external inspections. Every explanation pointed in different directions, none of them fully satisfying. Because the truth was uncomfortable. Nothing had been broken. Everything had simply been used as it was designed. Doors opened, schedules shifted. Humans followed routine, and routine can be studied. After the third escape, something changed in the building. Not in structure, but in atmosphere. Guards became more alert, conversations shorter. Every movement treated as potential risk, but tension creates blind spots too. The fourth escape would later be described in reports as impossible, not because of walls or locks, but because of belief. People stopped thinking it could happen again, not because security improved enough to guarantee it, but because psychologically, repetition becomes unbelievable. It is hard to accept that the same failure can happen more than once, especially in the same place, especially with the same man. The final escape didn't feel like an escape at all to those inside the system. There was no alarm that fully explained it, no single point of failure that could be isolated, just a gap in attention that opened and closed like a breath. And he was gone, again. When investigators later reviewed the footage, they didn't find brilliance in breaking locks or overpowering guards. They found something more unsettling: ordinariness. A guard looking away for a second too long. A door left unchallenged because it had been unproblematic 1,000 times before. A routine so stable it stopped being questioned. And somewhere in the middle of all that routine, a man who had learned to move inside it like water. The soup bowl was never recovered. It wasn't the key in any technical sense. It didn't pick locks or break barriers. But it marked something far more important. It marked time. And in a place built to eliminate uncertainty, time was the one thing no system could fully control. Years later, when people told the story, they focused on the escapes, on the impossible repetition, on the idea of a man outsmarting a prison 4 times with something as ordinary as a bowl. But the more uncomfortable truth was simpler. He didn't beat the prison by being stronger. He didn't break it by being smarter. He just noticed what everyone else had learned to ignore. And in systems built on repetition, that is sometimes all it takes. Because the real question the prison never answered was not how he escaped. It was how long the doors had been open before anyone thought to check.